I want to turn the floor over to you at this particular time.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith,
the 10th.
like it was in the 60s.
Do you know what time it is? It's Sharpton's time. And for these next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to you all that are listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our corporate headquarters of National Action Network in New York. It's Hot Button Monday. Mondays, we not only let you, we encourage you to speak, call in, and speak out whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, things that you saw happen over the weekend, and you just said, this is something that needs to be addressed. This is something that's outrageous. Well, that's what Hot Button Monday is for. Whatever you come out the weekend hot about, call us at 1-877 532-5797, 1-877 532-5797. And you can also go on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, and go to the live stream on the board. Like the mayor is already on there, Rodney Jones, the mayor at Queensbridge Houses in Queens, New York, is on there saying, it's Hot Button Monday, Hot Button Monday. And I see Tanya Stovall says, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton and the chat group. I see you checked in. I see Disco Brian checked in. And he is saying it's Hot Button Monday. Happy Hot Button Monday, fam, he says. And, of course, I'm looking forward to our dialogues with all of you today. And prayer Prayer Carrington saying, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton and live stream audience. Did you know about the young lady who was found hanging in Mississippi on last Monday? Yes, I'm following up that story. I know about it. I've not talked to anyone. I also am planning to be in Madison, Wisconsin on Thursday for the funeral services of Mr. Ruiz. A homeless man had a knife and they just shot and killed this man. And family and I talked a couple of weeks ago. I agreed to come in, waited until I can fly again. I can fly again this week, and I intend to stand with that family. They do not have the right to execute people. They know how to talk people down in other communities, and people particularly with a mental health problem, and the value of his life is something that we must protect to protect the value of ours. And someone stopped me the other day and said, Reverend Al, I see you out there every day, radio, TV, up at your rally. Don't you get tired? I said, I mean, sometimes you get a little wear down, but I can't afford to be tired. They're not tired of doing this to us. Trump ain't tired of changing laws. Over the weekend, he's still arguing that somebody slashed the reflecting pool when his own prosecutor, his own U.S. attorney in Washington, Janine Pirro, said there was no evidence that this man slashed anything. It was evidence saying that the developers, the contractors that strangely got a no-bid contract, they did whatever was done by them. Somebody need to also find out how they got a no-bid contract. I think I can guess, but somebody needs to know. So we're going to talk about all of this. Hamas and Israel cannot come to agreement. Hamas agreed that they would lay down the weapons, give back the hard weapons if Israel was totally out of Gaza. And Netanyahu said, no, I'm not doing that. And I think that it's interesting, but expected. Now Netanyahu will not even go along with the agreement that the Trump administration has worked in terms of the question of what they're going to do in Iran. So it's a lot to talk about. I see you. Supreme. I think that's Supreme B60. Good afternoon, Rev, checking in from the ATL, Atlanta. And Joanne Alvin Hubert says, hello to you, Reverend Sharpton. It seems that the more we go forward, the more we are pushed backwards. However, Maya Angelou said, and still we rise. And so we shall rise. I pray that God will continue to give you strength and make people respond. Well, I appreciate that. And I think that's Joan Alvin. I think that it is absolutely the right exchange even in history. And that is every time there's a step forward, they push back. I hope people didn't think that Donald Trump was going to get put back in the White House. Did not mean it was not going to embolden those crowds to now take everything back from us. That's why they wanted him back there. I told y'all not to elect him in the first place and what would happen. That doesn't surprise me. What is troubling me is enough of us are not fighting back. I'm going to see who shows up at the march August 28th. I'm getting a lot of calls. but I want you there. We need to say a national statement that we're not going to back down on this. And we need to then go home, particularly in the South, and set up our own watch brigades to be at the polls. We're not hopeless. We are not hopeless. We are not helpless. We just have been beat down where our self-esteem as a community has taken a whipping that we can't take it. Not only can we take it, we must take it, and we will take it. And Kevin Powell saying, Reverend Sharpton, never give up the fight, because if you're doing, no telling how far this administration will go to stop us from preparing in this country. Kevin Powell says, Reverend Sharpton, never give up. And I thank you for that, but I'm not giving up. They have a song in church, Kevin, saying, I come too far from where I started from. When I was a little boy, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, my parents used to drive south every Christmas season, go see my grandmother on my maternal side in Eufaula, Alabama, and then drive over to Florida, to Wabassa, Florida, see my paternal grandparents. And I was just a kid, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. We go down every Christmas. Father left. We had to move out of the nice house in Queens. He went and had an affair, child with my stepsister, disgraced the family. People used to hear me as boy preacher, was pointing and talking. But I went and kept preaching anyhow. Into my teens, joined Civil Rights Movement, became a protege of Reverend William Jones and Jesse Jackson. Fought fight, they tried to turn me around on many of the cases, tried to prosecute me, found not guilty. So I can't be tired. I come too far from where I started from. The song says, nobody told me. Had a lot of mentors. James Brown spent a lot of time with me. Jesse Jackson spent a lot of time with me. Bishop Washington, Reverend William Jones spent a lot of time with me. And they told me a lot of things and taught me a lot of things, but none of them told me that the road would be easy. So I don't believe God brought me this far and brought you and all of us this far to leave us now. Let's take a break. I'm opening up the phones. It is Hot Button Monday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Keeping it real.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled.
They called me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
And I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. With the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
They lost. Last night I said I'm not even going down there. I'm going to go to bed. I got to find a Hampton on Chicago. And by halftime I said, man, they ain't going to win this game. They down 29 points. And somebody here today You've been down. They counted you out. People say there's no way you come back. But I come to tell you, don't quit. For there's another half to play. And God will take you and let you win when the odds are against you. I know they talk about you, but preach anyhow. I know sometimes the pews are empty, but preach anyhow. And when you get up almost where you could win, I looked at it last night and Brunson took the shot. It looked like it was going in to win the game, but the shot hit the rim and all hope was gone. But then an African named Boyd OG just stretched through the crowd and he kicked in the winning shot. If you hold on, God will tip your win.
Is a house of justice. I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But the people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No. Hot Button Monday. So much to talk about, so many things to discuss. So let's get right into it so I can get everybody in. I see Johnny Santia. Is that Santia? Anita. Joe Arena. I'm trying to read your handle right, but it says the first celebrity I met in person was Oprah. She's bigger than life, meaning she's a great personality. Okay. And then I see someone had texted us from Hawaii and saying that they are watching. Hello from Hawaii, John Arnita. Okay. Thank you for being with us. Let's go to the phone. Let me start off Hot Button Monday. Start off with making us blessed for the week, talking to my dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice in Chicago, Illinois. Miss Eunice.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, I'm hanging in here in spite of. Yes, they said the road would not be easy, but they also said if we make one step, God will make two.
Yes, it did. They
Yes.
said it, and it's
And
true.
That's right. And Rev, I want to say prayers go out to the former President Biden and his family. And it was reported that the cancer had spread to his bones and brains, and I say God bless him.
Yeah, I announced it last night on Politics Nation, and I talked to Biden a week and a half ago. Biden called me, and he said that he had the diagnosis, and I tried to encourage him and told him, keep fighting. I think he did a lot of good as president. I didn't always agree with him in the beginning with the crime bill when he was in the Senate, but he did a lot of good as president, and I was glad to spend that time with him on the phone.
Yeah, well, say that. And one final thing, it's shameful the way Tim Scott makes a fool out of himself, coming out speaking on behalf of his master Trump. And he know that the man is lying, and we all see and hear it. He's a real buffoon. And you remember when he ran from around the podium and said, "I love you, Mr. President."
Yeah, he did.
This man has no moral principle. And did he get a high post in the cabinet? No. It's shameful the way some people can be abused and seem like they enjoy it.
Yeah, it is a very graphic example of let's call it political masochism, where they like getting beat, because it's insane. I saw that with Tim Scott. I had to turn the channel. I just cannot. He and Byron Donalds, I cannot figure out why they have become such a poster child for that kind of nonsense. I mean, have you no pride?
And if you can't say nothing that makes sense, or don't say nothing at all, but I guess they don't have sense enough to be quiet. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for kicking off the week, Sal, as always, Miss Eunice, on the phone. Thank you. Let's go. I see on the on our message board, Willie Franklin says, "Good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton and Nan from the 513 Cincinnati, Ohio." All right, let's go to Sharon in the Bronx, New York. Sharon, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. Is Sharon there? I don't hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
I'm on. Okay. I hope all is well with you today.
I'm fine.
I'm the one that called about the situation at the Walmart with the only Hispanic people working there, but that's not what I'm calling for. I just wanted to let you know who I was, because I know you got your hands full with bigger problems right now. I was going to speak about the new hanging of a female in Mississippi, but I think somebody already mentioned that.
We're looking into that.
Yeah. I want to say that I went to a big gathering yesterday. It goes down a few times every summer, and I saw one of your members there. She's well known in the house music population, and there was, I think, maybe 10,000 people there yesterday at Fort Greene Park.
Oh.
This might have been the last one, yeah. And all I could think about was all of those people, have they been registered, and do they know about the march? So I'm along with you in age. And so I paid for being out there yesterday with leg cramps this morning, okay? And it's not easy for me to be up and about on my feet and everything, but I know they do have some other scheduled events that may be going on right in Harlem at the Riverbank State Park. But It's not going to be that big, okay? But it's a nice crowd anyway. A lot of college students and all people of all ages come to these type of festivals. And all I could think of was look at all the people that should have had a voter's registration form instead of a nutcracker.
Hey.
Okay.
Wow.
I just want, I don't know if you can go to YouTube. People will be posting this event, and you probably can see what it looks like. Okay, this is like the biggest one that they do through the Soul Summit DJs every summer. There might be about 2 or 3 of them up there in this park. Been going on for years. So I just
I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna also put on the message line about the march. I appreciate the information, Sharon, but you take care of your legs now. You need to be around now. Thank you
very much for taking my call today.
Thank you for calling. I see Akeem Smith says Suge Knight speaks out ahead of the Tupac Shakur murder suspects trial. ABC News is reporting. Yeah, I'm I got a call from Tupac's mother many years ago, and all right, Joseph Nemely says, hi, Reverend Al Sharpton. I'm watching from Monrovia, Liberia. All right, Joseph, glad to have you with us from the motherland. I'm planning a trip to Ghana and Liberia later this year. Keep listening, keep watching. And Tupac's mother called me. She called a local elected official and said that, can you get me to Reverend Sharpton? This was maybe 20 years ago or more. And he said, what's the problem? She says, Tupac, her name was Afeni Shakur, says Tupac is in solitary confinement in Dannemora. They put him in jail for that alleged rape harassment case. And she said, I know we can't get him out, but can Reverend Sharpton help him get out of solitary confinement? And I went up and met with the warden and got Tupac out of solitary. He and I visited him twice. Very brilliant young man, gifted. I mean, I was surprised at how bright he was. A true loss. And now, some 30 years later, they're going to have this trial on a conspiracy. So I'm going to be watching. I'll put it that way. I'm going to be watching. Let's take a break. Be right back. Hot Button Monday, keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling.
First, I want to thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which about Nelson
When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
I've been in the area since festival, since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God bless.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to us, Al, me, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior say, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm back 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. 897. Let's go to Ira in Washington, D.C. on this Hot Button Monday. Is Ira there?
Hello, Reverend Sharpton. Thanks for taking my call this evening. It's been a long time I had to get in because it kept bringing busy on D.C. area, but I stuck in there anyway. I just got two things. It may be late, but I do go according to my paperwork that I write for you. It may be an old article, but I'm just going to bring it up anyway. I read an article about this person, Dr. Stacy Turner, the Mississippi coroner that did the Mississippi case, that she ruled no foul play, and for black people, she has a racial bias. And what it was, in relation to that, she refused to give the family or the coroners from the family, personal family, the throat, the lungs, and the stomach from the autopsy. She refused to release that to the family coroner. That's kind of suspect, too. And everybody had recently called, when I read the article, they recently called for her to revoke her license for whatever she did, because they know she's doing some illegal stuff. And that's just one thing. Then I got my last thing. You may have already had this. It's something about Charlotte, Mecklenburg, North Carolina, how the 16-year-old young lady, African lady, Juliana Enzites, was found hung at a church, a United House of Prayer in North Carolina. They also ruled that a murder and a suicide. Come on now. Everybody know this ain't happening we don't do this kind of stuff. So I don't know what we're going to do to get people to acknowledge that they are doing things to us in this 2026 time, and what we need to do to get them to wake up and stop doing this stuff. I mean, it's just not common. Why do we got to have that we are suicidal or we hung ourselves? It's a blatant lie, and it's due to the administration giving them that runway to get that avenue to say this lie and make it sound like the truth. That's all I got to say for today, Brother Sharp.
That's plenty you said, and you're right. They are going out of their way to distort what is happening. Let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Buzz. Ray?
Appreciate, Rev. Thanks for taking the call. Before I get started, Rev, do you have does Michigan or Detroit get your show?
Yes.
Okay, and actually I want to before I talk to the voters of Michigan, I want to say this. You remember when Hillary, because I saw Meet the Press yesterday, and Abdul Zayed, I think that's what his name, I don't want to screw it up, but I'll call him Abdul. Remember when Hillary Clinton said that, talked about Trump can be baited with a tweet? You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think it was a week or two ago when Abdul, the Senate candidate in Michigan, I guess someone, his opponent, kind of like said his whole name, in a derogatory way, and the guy said, "You need to keep my damn name out of your mouth."
Yeah, he did, Tallarico. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Tallarico. It was Abdul.
It's Abdul. I'm sorry. You're right. Abdul said it. He said he couldn't say my name right. Yeah, that's right. You're right.
So when you say keep my damn name out of your mouth, he was baited. And I'm afraid that, I mean, even when Barack, and I'm going to call him Barack Hussein Obama, Obama wasn't baited. He couldn't be baited like that. They tried to link the Hussein with Saddam Hussein, and no one bought it on the Democrat side.
That's
but
right.
we all know what the Republicans are doing, right? And so I'm afraid they need to get to Abdul and say, hey, you're going to hear worse. You can't go off like that. You still act professional. Don't let the name calling, stop they're going to bait you.
Yeah.
And like I saw him on Meet the Press. He was very well-spoken. He kind of had a little smirk here and there. But what I want to say to the voters of Michigan, okay, the Democrats, if your candidate didn't win, your circumstances are still the same. And so the message is, you got to vote for Abdul even if your candidate didn't win. The goal is to defeat Trumpism. That's the goal. Even if the guy's homeless, you vote for the homeless guy over Mike Rogers, because Mike Rogers, all he's going to do is rubber stamp what Donald Trump says. And whether you're a Republican or independent, and you voted for Mike Rogers, you still paying high gas prices. Your circumstances is no different than the Democrats.
Yeah.
And so while another guy in there, that will make your circumstance worse. That's what I don't understand. I know you and who's the lady, which she comes on Thursdays for Policy Date.
Jennifer Jones Austin.
Yeah, you guys were talking about that last Thursday, where if the lady who lost to Abdul, she's backing him now, and I hope the voters do too, because that goal, like I said, that goal will never change. We want Donald Trump defeated. We want Abdul to win. And if you're going to sit back and not vote because your candidate lost and Mike Rogers get in, you deserve what you get, and you can't say one word about it. You can't say one word about it. So you guys were talking. I tried to get in, but I couldn't. But when Jennifer Jones was saying, the Democrats band together, when their candidate loses, because they vote for the Republican no matter what. But for some reason, if I'm getting it wrong, she was saying that the Democrats, they kind of are not like that, which they should. So that's just what I want to say to the Michigan voters out there. If you're listening, vote for Abdul, because you can't win the Senate without Michigan. Am I right or wrong, Rev?
Cannot. You cannot win the majority in the U.S. Senate without Michigan. Michigan's at stake. You're absolutely right. Thank you for your call. Glad to hear you got through. Walter Coleman is on the message board, and Walter Coleman is saying, what bothers me is that Black America is so caught up on Trump they can't see that the far left policies of the Democratic Party is destroying all that you all are fighting for. Wake up. Well, I think that some of us are not fighting at all, and that's the problem. And I think that Trump is fighting. Let me tell you something. I don't know your politics, and it doesn't matter. The facts speak for themselves. Under Trump, he's engineered, led the fight to revoke voting rights. That's why we're having the march on August 28th, a little over 2 weeks from now. He's led the fight to let the Affordable Care Act run out and will not extend it. That's the facts. He has led the fight openly against DEI, says diversity is racist. That's the facts. So if you're saying black people are caught up on all that he's tried to take from us, that just 2 generations got us, no, we're caught up on having our voting rights and having our right to employment and contracts. It's not about Trump. So let's be real clear. And I also agree with Ray that whether it is El Said or whether it's Tallarico, don't get baited. I ran for president, and I was in over 30 debates. The key is they try to bait you. I see people every day get on my message board and try to bait me. I don't even respond one way or another because that's what they want is a response. You got some people on, what about Tawana Brawley? What about a guy that was with you 40 years ago? He saved you. Nobody saved me, but I'm not going to be baited into denouncing people or telling people's real story because of some ignorance that just wants to bait you. Just stay above the cloud. One of the things one of my mentors told me is, they said, Reverend, you know why buzzards, and it was Jesse Jackson that told me. Another thing we got to talk about, when Jesse Jackson, I knew before I knew any of these people in New York. But anyway, he said is there a reason, Al, why buzzards can't fly with eagles? I said, no. He said, you don't know about birds? I said, I know a little about them, but I didn't know buzzards couldn't fly with eagles. He said, buzzards can't fly with eagles because they can't fly at a certain altitude. Eagles don't have to argue with buzzards, don't have to fight with buzzards. All they have to do is just go to high altitude, and buzzards are not made to handle high altitudes. So that's all you got to do, Al, is stay in a higher altitude, because buzzards can't come up there anyway. And I think that is absolutely right. All right, Akeem Smith says, Reverend Sharpton, I'm just waiting for the notification from Nan on where to board the bus here in Connecticut for me and my mom. If you're on that list that the office have, you will get called this week. We're making all the bus arrangements now nationwide, and I think that it is absolutely right. I think that the officers we churning. I was over all day Saturday with our rally. I had to go do the TV show. You will definitely hear from us in the next day and a half, because I just had a meeting early this morning laying out all the buses and getting the monies to them and all of that. All right, let's get ready to take a break. We're coming back, keeping it real. It is Hot Button Monday. Be right back.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow, because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history, and you can't teach certain other histories, and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go.
As they do that, they change the opportunity, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP people Defense Fund together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this stuff.
Is a house of justice.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do studying, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set of way. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is.
How you doing, sir?
All right.
It's Claudette Williamson from Atlanta, Georgia. And the last time I saw Reverend Sharpton was in New York City at Sylvia's. And my sister and I pretended that we needed to go to the bathroom so we could go in and see him and say hi from a distance. I'm okay. You look great. My name is Claudette. New York City was Sylvia's.
Oh.
My sister and I told our house, can I get a picture? So we can see. Wave at you, and today I. Lisa? Yes. Oh, the picture. We're her children. Thank you all.
Reverend, it's really great to meet you. And were you in? It's an honor to meet you. Okay, come take a seat. Thank you.
Take it back here right quick while your momentum. One more, please. Thank you, sir. I'm still exposed. How you guys doing? Oh my God. How you doing? Oh, come on, man. I gotta get a phone. All right. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one, man.
Al Sharpton. You're live, sir. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Don't forget to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. Had two great shows this weekend, and we are asking you to continue to support the show. And, of course, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 124th and Morningside. Official address is 6 Hancock Place, but it's 124th and Morningside in Harlem. And, of course, you that cannot make it to Harlem, you can watch it live on Impact Television, on NationalActionNetwork.net, on YouTube/NAN, and on Sirius XM. And you can, of course, watch it on AME Zion Network. Someone posted, why hasn't Invisible promoted the march? Invisible has the march up. I got a couple of their postings over the weekend. They Indivisible is promoting the march August 28th, and I think that and they're supposed to be committed to it, as well as the No Kings March people. But the main thing is for all of us to be there. If you have not reserved a bus, that you're going on a bus or you're organizing a bus and want us to help, you need to do it this week. We're a little under 3 weeks now, and this is not a joke. This is not something you keep saying, I'm going to deal with it later, I got time. We've got to arrange transportation. We got to arrange buses. We got to bring thousands of people there to Washington August 28th. So make sure that you are signed in, and we will make sure we work out everything you need worked out. And all you have to do is go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or go to the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. All right, it's Monday. Time to bring in my co-host, Democratic strategist and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, and, of course, a political consulting firm. Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
Great Monday to you, Rev.
Now, a lot of the politics I want to get to, but first policy. It appears that Iran, and I opened the show with this, has said that they will not open the Strait of Hormuz and do anything else until the United States pulls all of its military troops out of Iran, till they pay reparations for what they've done and other items. I think that they have just about called President Trump's bluff on this. And he once said to Zelensky, you don't have any cards. It looks like Trump is not having any cards to play. Then on the other side of the foreign affairs concerns is that Netanyahu has said he does not like what the United States is proposing about Gaza, and that they will not pull all the way out of Gaza. Give me the politics of how both of these international efforts of Trump, if not has blown up in his face, has certainly made him look weak and unable to move forward.
Well, it's made the United States as a whole look weak, because when the leader of the free world looks weak, not do we as a country look weak, but so do our allies and partners. Trump has been played for a sucker for getting us in this warped choice. And not only are we feeling the residue from an economic standpoint, now from a military standpoint, military depletion of resources, and also from a just confidence in the rest of the world from our allies and partners, that has all been depleted. The politics and the policy go hand in hand like this. We know that Donald Trump and Republicans are directly responsible for putting us in this war of choice. And one of the things we are committed to when we take back the House in November is to make certain that we end this reckless war of choice by implementing legislatively and legally what the Congress has already voted on, and that's the War Powers Resolution to say, Donald Trump, you have to pull us out of this war.
Israel and Netanyahu. Give me the politics as it will play in the United States.
It's more of the same, and this is why you see so many voices and people frustrated in these Democratic primaries about the Israel-United States relationship, because it's not necessarily Israel they have a problem. The leadership of Israel they have a problem with. Netanyahu's a villain. He's a clown. He's a dummy. He's stupid. He is playing footsie and cuddling with Trump, telling basically Trump what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Trump is playing footsie and cuddling back with him, and as a result, everybody's suffering. And then we have this uproar in the Democratic Party because you have some in the party who can't separate Netanyahu from the relationship with Israel. They see it as one and the same, but now Netanyahu has become a villain, and it's causing destruction within our party for those who believe that Israel has a right to exist and those who believe in the two-state solution.
All right, let's go to the phone. Let me go to my dear friend in Northwest Atlanta, Sister D. D, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
Hi, Reverend L. and Antoine. Reverend L. Antoine is my absolute favorite of your guests. And but yesterday on your show, Politics Nation, you had another favorite, Charles Blow, and I would like to see him more often.
Yeah,
but you had another.
I was glad to have Charles yesterday.
I was glad to see Charles Blow. Also, there was a man, his name was Michael. You had a young black man, his name was Michael something, and he raised my antenna about something. I don't know his last name.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about, used to be with degree, it'll come to me, Michael Harriet.
Michael
Okay.
Harriet, son of South Carolina.
That.
Okay. Well, yesterday he said two words that, and I went, what? And I started reading up and Googling and whatever. He mentioned the words
ethnic cleansing, and I hadn't thought about that.
Right.
70% of people held in immigration detention centers have no criminal convictions. In today's Atlanta Journal-Constitution, there was a big article about the number of deportations that are taking place in Georgia. So what that Michael said, it reminded me that, so this is racial profiling that's occurring. And I noticed that Trump is trying to turn all immigrants into bad people or criminals when they aren't that. And I know those Haitian people who are working here legally don't fit that category. And I'd like for you guys to, I'd like you to talk about that. Do you think it might be a form of ethnic cleansing?
I think that clearly some of those that are involved with this deportation of everybody is clearly leans toward the ethnic cleansing.
Stephen Miller?
Yeah, because they only want to deport black and brown people. The thing that makes it so blatant to me, D, is at the same time they just removed the act of the temporary protection on what they call TIPS, TPS on Haitians. I think about 350,000 Haitians now can be removed when they know that Haiti is now controlled by gangs. You can't even fly into Haiti. It's so dangerous. Yet they're going to go all the way to South Africa and bring some white South Afrikaners saying that they are fleeing genocide and give them refuge here at taxpayers' expense when nobody, including the world press, has said anything about genocide. Nobody can find no genocide. Nobody can understand what they talk about. So when you make a racial choice that blatant, I think it leads to what was said. Absolutely. And I think that a lot of what we've got to deal with is that this whole TPS for cancellation of temporary protection status is run out. They refuse to renew it. And 350,000 Haitians. I had on the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Yvette Clark, Congresswoman from Brooklyn, on the show last night talking about it. This is a real threat. And these people have contributed to this country. Many of them are in the health industries. Many of them doctors, some lawyers. Many of them have done work and have been taxpayers. And you want to deport them, but you want to bring in some white South Afrikaners that come from a fantasy genocide. We must call it what it is. I think Harriet did it his way last night.
Yeah, it caught my attention, Reverend L. The Trump administration, they continue to create barriers to legal immigration. And as an aside, Trump has had 3 wives and 2 of them are immigrants. Thank you, Reverend L.
All right, and that's what the kids say, facts. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be right back. It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11 and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem used to say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass, and I knocked on the door and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, "Really?" She said, "Who did I say?" I said, "Reverend Al Sharpton."
That power means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my power.
It is such a pleasure to be here with Reverend Sharpton and this entire congregation on Juneteenth weekend to not only celebrate freedom, but recognize the work that is still to be done to ensure that that freedom is within the grasp of each and every New Yorker who has helped to build this city. Thank you for having me as always.
I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But the people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No.
give a sense of value. Our history is worthless. We're not a worthless people. We're not a people that are just some ghetto drugs. You know, sometimes we have places that we will misbehave. And this one shows us that we are.
Where in history is this? He said we always go one step forward and two backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person. You got our artists calling our women bees. Our others calling us niggas. What happened to us? What happened to black and proud? What happened? I'm gonna vote. What happened? Ain't gonna let
Keeping it real, keeping it real.
What happened to us?
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to our message board at nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, and express yourself. Walter Coleman is on the message board saying Trump is not a racist and he's not trying to take blacks back to the 60s, but the radical Islamic group as well as all the woke policies of the far left will destroy America. Well, Donald Trump is not even trying to say what you're saying, sir. Donald Trump has gone out of his way to try and revoke the Voting Rights Act, which is going back to the 60s and changing it. He has got the Supreme Court to nullify Section 2. That is certainly an anti-black decision because it was a decision around our voting rights. He has ended the diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's tried to deport just people from black countries while he's brought in people from South Africa. And he's always been that. I mean, Donald Trump, I fought him here in New York over the Central Park joggers case, where he tried to call for the execution of 5 young black and brown men, that young boys at that time, that were not guilty of the crime, and they finally were exonerated. But I'll make him racist, Reverend. Okay, well then, why didn't he ever take a position when a black kid was killed in Howard Beach, which was the next neighborhood from him, Jamaica Estates? Why didn't he open his mouth then? He didn't take out no ads then. Why didn't he say something when Yusuf Hawkins was killed, black kid, just for being in a neighborhood in Bensonhurst? I come out the same city he come out of, and I'm telling you that I'm not just being flippant to say that his politics is racist, his presidency is racist. But out of fairness, I read your question, I read your statement, so that I will let anybody that has something to say it, and I'm going to give them my answer. Antoine, they are getting ready to swear in Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's former personal attorney, as Attorney General of the United States. The fear is that this will weaponize the Justice Department to go after his enemies, his being Trump's enemies, for political reasons, people that have been a threat to him and politically, or that have done things he does not like. Explain to our listeners the significance and how unprecedented it is to have the personal lawyer of the president put over the Justice Department.
And that's called dangerous, because basically the American taxpayers are splitting the bill for the president's personal attorney to do whatever it is that the president wants him to do. That includes the retribution tour that Donald Trump continues to be on. So that's first and foremost. The second thing is this AG nominee has committed to basically say that Donald Trump and his family can no longer be investigated by the IRS for any type of fines, and basically they are excused from paying the $100 million back taxes they may have owed. That's number two. Number three, this non-independent attorney general is basically going to do whatever Trump and his allies and partners want to do and excuse whatever Trump and his allies and partners want to do. So look for more crazy parties to happen. Look for more people to get a blind eye towards the crimes that you and I will be put under the jail for. And also look for this attorney general to find ways to curb the law any which way they can, particularly Democrats win the midterms, to be able to implement the MAGA agenda and whatever that means for a second half of a 4-year term for Donald Trump.
And I think that is the gospel truth. Let's go to Pam, my sister, beloved extraordinaire, activist extraordinaire in Chicago. Pam.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Hello, Antoine. How you doing?
All right. How are you?
How are you?
Well, appreciate you. And I'm listening to your show with my mom. I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hello. Hi, Reverend Sharpton. This is Mrs. Hunt.
Hi, how are you? Glad to hear your voice.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Well, that's good.
I'm listening to you. I just wanted her to get to say that to you, Reverend Sharpton.
Oh, that's one. I'm so glad to hear that. That's what makes me feel good.
Oh, absolutely. And you make her day. So I just wanted to you both, and thank you, Antoine, for what you bring to the show and your expertise as a Democratic strategist plus. So the first thing I wanted to say, Reverend Sharpton, in this political cycle, I just reviewed Reverend Jackson's speeches. It was 1984 and 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And Antoine, I really wish the Democratic leadership and all of the Democratic elected officials would just go back and review that speech in its totality. Because it talks about where we are right now, the working class families. It talks about bridging gaps. It talks about being inclusive. And I think somewhere along the way, some in the Democratic Party missed that. So let's revisit that and bring that back. Even in your presidential run, Reverend Sharpton, you talked about those things that were important for this country and for families and to make this country greater. For those who consider it great, that's fine. But in Reverend Jackson's speech, he said it could be greater,
right,
if that's where you stand.
Right.
So I just said all of that. I want us to bring us back to those values because many of those values the progressives are talking about. But also, Reverend Sharpton, many of those values the CBC is talking about, even though they may be moderate. So I think we have to bridge the gap where we can so that we can take over in November and also the presidency. So I know we talk about voting and mobilization. So let me ask you, Antoine, about strategy. What do you see the best strategy going forward, and how can we as voters, activists, and others contribute to that? Because I know they want to say that there's some infighting, and I'm okay with that as long as it's done respectfully and that we can come back together. Because I want to see if 90 million people didn't vote, Antoine, how are we going to galvanize those people? Because I don't want to trust that we have to worry about MAGA voting for our candidates or trying to somehow reconcile ourselves with evil. Because that, for me, is what this administration represents. And so I'd like to think that we can put effort into galvanizing, if it's 90 million that didn't vote, how can we galvanize them? Because if it's one thing we know that the progressives and some of the DSA, they're doing some things right. And some things they need correction on. And I'm hoping the two can come together so we can propel ourselves forward. So you're the strategist. What would you be advising Al Sayed to do? Excuse me, Abdul El Sayed. What would you be advising him to do?
All right, hold on. I'm going to hold you over the break.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton.
I want you, Pam, to have that discussion with Antoine Seawright. We'll be right back, keeping it real. Sharpton, be right back.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's when he said to us, Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number 1. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
We have a short today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We were go. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road from me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from, too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great grandfather was a slave about 40, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But now. This for FM radio even took off. And Hank Span said to me, he said, Reverend, I was doing a show there with him with Reverend Jerry West out of Church of God in Christ. And he said, Reverend, he said, I know your youth group. And I was about, at the time he called me, I was about 16 to 17. He said, did you have a young guy in your youth group named Teddy? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, well, I got unfortunate news. I said, what happened? He said Teddy was with some other guys, and they were driving near Albany, New York, got into a car accident, and Teddy is dead. I said, no. I said, he came to our meetings. We used to have little youth movement meetings out in Brownsville. And I think he was from down south. I said, yeah, that's right. That's why I called you. I said, I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Hot Button Monday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Pam, you posed a question to Antoine. Antoine, would you like to respond?
Sure, a couple things. This is true in Michigan, and this is true across the country for us. Those of us who subscribe to the Democratic Party. We've got to come to the realization that the primaries are over. The results are in. Our candidates are our candidates. Whether you like them or not, those are the horses we have to ride. That's like number one. Number two, our candidates have to shift their focus, their attention, and their messaging towards a general election strategy. You're not talking to the very selected group of people who vote in primaries. Now you're talking to a broad audience where mostly in most swing states, independents are going to decide the outcome of the election. And so these extreme positions that are out of touch with their broader reality, like abolishing the Senate, open borders, defunding ICE, defunding the police, all these outlandish things that we know are controversial and can stir up trouble, you have to separate yourself from that and lean into the things that we all agree upon. We all agree upon the messaging that Hakeem Jeffries rolled out a few weeks ago, fighting for an affordable America, holding the crooks accountable, saving health care, and fighting for legislation that will lower costs for housing, health care, and the basic necessities everyday Americans need, as well as rolling back the cuts that have been put in place that are harmful to everyday Americans that will not be put in place to after the midterm elections. So in other words, Pam, we've got to yell in places we agree and basically shut up, not even listen, shut up in the places we disagree. So that's like number one. Number two. Number three, we have to learn that expansion is going to be our key for success in the midterm. It's okay for us to have a little hip-hop and R&B, a little country, a little rock and roll. Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright can exist. Style versus substance, the generational conversation, those two things can be true. But we cannot govern if we do not win, and losers don't legislate. And so until that mindset is locked in with all of our candidates and our activists and those we're trying to win over in this election, we are not going to be successful. And then finally, I would say that I think the electorate needs to understand this is going to be a base plus election. Yes, we've got to turn out our base, and the 90 million people didn't stay home, blah, blah, blah. But in some places, it's going to require us to win some Donald Trump voters if we want to be successful. And we can't ignore that reality. So we need broad stroke messaging that will touch every single personality and every single person in this country and help them realize the differences between the two parties.
All right. I guess, Pam, you got your answer from Antoine Seawright. All right, let's go to Philadelphia. Disco Brian, WURD. Disco Brian, you're on with Sharpton and Seawright.
Well, it is a hot button Monday. Too many hot buttons to touch. Gentlemen, Rev, were you on Morning Joe this morning?
No, I'll be on tomorrow morning.
All right. So I guess it just came up in my feed that Scarborough said it plainly. He said, disavow Hassan Piker or suffer political consequences. And over the weekend, Rev, AOC, Bernie, and Abdul El Sayed were confronted on all the Sunday shows about that person, and they all dodged. AOC said, well, we got to get the angry young male vote, so, we got to go on those shows. And Abdul said, well, his statement that America deserved 9/11 was dumb, ignoring all the other statements he said, telling black people to suck his genitals for asking about the genocide in Sudan, etc. But, setting aside all that. And then Bernie turned the question on the host and said, hey, maybe there's something you said that you regret in the past. And here's what gets me, gentlemen. While all this is happening, you know what Hassan Piker does? He's quadrupling down on all his most disgusting statements. He has framed a picture of the Twin Towers with the planes going into them on fire and has the picture hung up on his wall behind him as he's doing his live streams. He is not being subtle. This man, who AOC, Abdul El Sayed, and Bernie and all the rest are rallying behind, Mamdani's good friends with him, is on Team Osama bin Laden. There is not an ounce of contrition in Piker, and Abdul, AOC, Bernie, Mamdani, and the rest will continue to dodge questions about their fawning relationship with him. I'm wondering if y'all have any thoughts on what Democrats need to do moving forward regarding that sewer of an individual.
I do. I think they should ignore him. I think that Piker wants us to spend our time talking about him rather than talking about the Republican opponent in Michigan. I think attacking Piker won't get you one vote in Michigan, one vote in Wisconsin. I'm about winning the Senate and the House so we can take this president's policies down. Piker definitely wants to be the center of attention. I think you play in his hands. He'd love for people with a name, including me, to attack him so then he can attack back and he becomes the subject of the matter. I think we should not go for the bait. I think we ought to be debating people like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, and others, and not some guy that is trying to make a name for himself with a podcast. So if I was not on Morning Joe this morning, if you'd asked me, I'd have said the same thing. I think everything that you said about Piker is correct. He's been a bigoted, racist, and all that, but he's a non-factor unless we make him one. Antoine?
Rev, I 100% agree with you. And what I would tell you is that we can't afford to get distracted in this season. In the same way, I disagree with AOC about Joe Rogan and Piker. Like, those people are irrelevant to the people who are struggling with affordability issues in this country. So why make them part of the conversation? What we need to do is focus on our priorities. And I also disagree with AOC's interview yesterday where she laughed off how Woke One was such a joke in defunding the police. You know why? Because that cost us many seats that we have yet to get back in our party. And so for some of these people, attention is a powerful drug. For us, but particularly for Sharpton and Seawright, these elections are about survival. There's nothing laughable about that, and certainly nothing entertaining for people like Piker and Joe Rogan and all these other voices who don't give a damn about what happens in our community. We should not give them oxygen.
I love it. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to Theron in Detroit, Michigan. Theron.
Hey, peace be unto you, brothers. My question was around the
last call before break.
The Senate debate. It's the Senate runoff here in the state of Michigan with Syed and the young lady here, Stevens. I just kind of look at it a little differently. Are we playing checkers or are we playing chess? They both kind of have the same values of what the people in the state of Michigan want. There is one side with Syed's side. They may have a little slight difference, but we can't get everything. But we get the basics of the most of everything that's needed, and it gets to the poor because by law, on the amendment books, the poor is taken care of. It's in the amendments that but based on your income level, that the government will help support you. But you have to fight to get those fundings put in your community. But it seems like Stevens was doing those things, and it seemed like she would have been a better fight. So I'm hoping that we don't lose the seat in the state of Michigan. That's what it seems like. The Democratic Party may lose the seat in the state of Michigan because Rogers is leaning towards those 1% of the Democrats that he needs to get over the hurdle. That's what I'm seeing. That's my spin on it.
I think that people absolutely have the right to vote whichever way they want. I think the argument was made, Theron, during the primaries that what you said that she was the better had the better odds of winning Michigan come November, and I might stress she only lost by 1%. This was no landslide.
Yes,
and
that's right.
She showed though to be mature and noble and put the people and the party above herself. And she embraced El Said, even though they said a lot of derogatory things about her. And I just hope, as you just said, that they do not blow the election. I think that we get one of the fears I have is, and I've had it all my life, is that we get into personality politics. We get enthralled with a charismatic figure and forget our interests and the bigger picture. And I think that that is why the Democrats wanted to deal with us the way they dealt with us. And I think that you raise a good point. Thank you for your call. I see. Go ahead.
Let me add one thing to that. In order for Abdul to be successful in November, he's got to win over the coalition that gave Hayden Stevens the close margin of victory. That was black folks, that was working class folks, and non-college educated folks. So it's not a walk in the park by any stretch of the means. And he's got to win over those Jewish voters who make up a large share of the electorate in Michigan. And so as we continue to have these style versus substance primary conversations, I think they're fine. But at some point in the general election, you've got to think about and talk about substantive issues that will meet a broad coalition of voters in the general election. And guess what? Mike Rogers almost beat Alyssa Slotkin, the current U.S. Senator from Michigan. It was less than 80,000 vote margin. And so in a general election where people sometimes are more angry than informed, this is not a game. So these values and these progressive values that are not necessarily in line with the majority of a general election electorate, you've got to give those things an alteration and change the way you talk about the issues if you want to be successful. Otherwise, you'll win the primary, but we'll continue to win and lose general elections.
Absolutely, I agree. Thank you for your call, and thank you, Theron. Let us get ready to take our break. 1-877-532-5797. I see Fahima came on. The message was Reverend Al. They should put forth, or the theme should put forth by the 1972 political convention was unity without uniformity. You are correct, Fahima. I was 18 years old, I was the youngest person on the platform committee at the National Black Political Convention in Gary. I was there, and that is exactly what we came out with. You're right. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. Keeping it real. Even took off. And Hank Span said to me, he said, Reverend, I was doing a show there with him with Reverend Jerry West out of Church of God in Christ. And he said, Reverend, he said, I know your youth group. And I was about, at the time he called me, I was about 16 to 17. He said, did you have a young guy in your youth group named Teddy? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, well, I got unfortunate news. I said, what happened? He said Teddy was with some other guys, and they were driving near Albany, New York, got into a car accident, and Teddy is dead. I said, no. I said, he came to our meetings. We used to have little youth movement meetings out in Brownsville, and I think he was from down south. He said, yeah, that's right. That's why I called you. I said, why? He said, well, his father wants to do a memorial for him. And I told him he should do it for you and donate the money to y'all. I said, well, you can't raise an offering at a memorial. He said, no, I ain't talking about an offering. We talking about him doing a concert. I said, a concert? He said, yeah. I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, you didn't know who Teddy's father is? I said, no. He said, his father is the godfather of Soul James Brown. That's how I met James Brown. And James Brown came and did 2 shows at the RKO Albee Theater, that's now the Albee Mall, and gave the money to us in the name of his son. He and I developed a relationship over the years. He would bring me out. I think he saw the son he lost, and I saw the father that I didn't even know where my father was at that time. So I'm in my 20s now. And I went down to see James Brown. By then I was an activist and people knew me. My youth group had become known. And I used to go down and see him back and forward. And I was in his office in Augusta one day. And I said to him, Kadia, I said, you know, Mr. Brown, we're trying to get a national holiday for Dr. King. And I said, you ought to support us. Stevie Wonder's out there with Mrs. King trying. He said, I ain't got to march. I can talk to the president. He hit the intercom and told the secretary, get the White House on the phone. And I said to myself, yeah, right. And we went on, took me out to lunch with his entourage. We come back about 5:30 that evening in his office. Secretary hit the intercom and said, the White House is on line 9. So I'm like, really? And he got on and he said, I want to talk to the president about making Dr. King's birthday holiday. And whatever they said they would get back with him. Later that evening, before we left his office, they called back and said, January 15th, Mr. Brown, President Reagan will meet with you. So he hung up the phone and he looked at me like, okay, now. Who is the Godfather? He said, they bring me to the White House and meet with Reagan about Dr. King's holiday. And January 15th is Dr. King's birthday. And he said, I'm going to take you with me. I said, really? He said, yeah. So about a day or two before the January 15th, his secretary called me and said that you got a ticket at the airport. Mr. Brown wants you to fly down, meet him to go back to Washington. I said, fly down, I can meet him in Washington. He said, no, he wants you to come to Augusta and fly back with him. So I flew down, flew back with him. While we were on the plane, I never even told Kadir this story. While we were on the plane, headed to Washington, his private plane had been in repair, so we were on Delta Airlines. His bodyguards was in coach, we in first class. He looked at me, he said, Reverend, he said, you know Bobby that used to be in the Famous Flames with me? I said, yeah. He said, you know, he got a hair salon here in Washington. He don't sing no more. I said, oh yeah? He said, yeah. He said, I want to bring you by there with me. because I want you to do your hair just like mine. I said, okay. He said, yeah, because when we walk in the White House, they're going to be press everywhere. And I want them, when they see you, you look like my son that I put into you. And I said, yes, sir, Mr. Brown. But I looked out the window. He was on the aisle seat. I was next to the window. And I looked at the window. And as I looked out the window, tears kind of swelled up in my eyes, because it occurred to me that my father never asked me to emulate him. And here was a man being a person that made me feel like I was worth him emulating me. And we went and met with Reagan and Vice President Bush, headed back to Augusta. He said to me on the plane, he said, do me a favor. I said, what's that? He said, promise me as long as I live, you'll keep your hair like that. And I said, yeah, but he never understood. What he gave me was a fatherhood that I didn't have. He's the biggest entertainer in the world, wanted me to look like him. Nobody else had given me that. And the only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you're gone is what you did for more than yourself. Think about this. Think about if today is your last day. If this is your last service, what can they say about me? And if you're not satisfied with your own answer, you should leave here today working on yourself and building on what you need to build. Because God is here. He's available to you if you but use what he's giving you to be more than self-indulgent. Now, I know many of us come with reasons we won't step out. But I come to tell you that's why God is here. God takes the ones that are the least likely and gets the most done. As I have seen in my life, people that were the unexpected and rejected are the ones that end up the greatest. So don't let whatever mistakes or whatever things that may be in your past hold you back. God is not trapped in your past. God is there for your future. And he's there that every day you wake up was a divine decision he made to give you another opportunity to serve.
With respect to black culture, there is one person who has been doing this for decades. He has been supporting our communities. He's been fighting for our communities in the trenches. He's a fighter, he's a civil rights icon, and he's a visionary. The Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Right now in Washington, D.C., they're having on the National Mall the celebration of July 4th. But what they will not talk about is on July 4th, 1776, black people were slaves in this country. We were not part of the Declaration of Independence. But we celebrate tonight because 250 years later, we never stopped fighting, we never backed down, we took nothing and made something happen. If you want to
celebrate something. Celebrate that we built this nation on our backs and never got paid. They say America the beautiful. We made America beautiful. They say America the great. We made America the great. And we fought and we bled and we died to get the right to vote. And now Trump and them are trying to take that right. We fought too hard. We spent too many nights in jail. We gonna vote like we never voted before. Today, a group called the Patriots marched in Washington with Confederate flags. Well, on August 28th, Martin Luther King III now having a march in Washington on the day his father gave the I Have a Dream speech. I want everybody to be there. We're going to stand up and show the dignity of our people. We're going to show that we
Reverend
are
Al
going to
Sharpton.
never back.
Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, let's go right to the phones. Let me go to the sage of the South, Brother Jihad. Brother Jihad.
Everybody all right?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good, good. You know what's the Hassan, the guy Hassan. How many Medicaid cuts did he make? I heard today that Trump cutting all of the money, complete money to minority enterprise today. How many things did Hassan cut that the Democrats are for? Trump is doing all the cutting, and the Republicans are doing all the cutting.
Right.
So how can the litmus test for us be Hassan?
Mm.
You understand? How many times have they denounced Stephen Miller? How many? How many times did they denounce the other guy that brought Stephen Miller in? How many times have they denounced Hedseth and that religious group that he belonged to that think it's all right to kill the Palestinians? How many? How many times? So how now are we going to let the litmus test to what we do be Hassan Piper? We have to prove ourselves to them by denouncing Hassan. And they have, if what they're saying is true, they have Hassans all over their party, all in their movement.
Right.
But yet we're going to be the one that has to now prove to them, and to my friend, the brother, what's my man name, who hates Hassan so much. We got to prove to them
Brian.
that Brian, that we all right by denouncing Hassan. We've seen this game before. Why don't Minister Farrakhan, or why don't Jesse Jackson denounce Minister Farrakhan?
Right.
Forget the good that Minister Farrakhan does. Forget the good that Jesse Jackson does. The litmus test on whether you accept Jesse Jackson is whether or not he denounces Farrakhan. How ridiculous is that? For us to fall for this thing all over again.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? We got. It's almost like the football team. You have a football team, and you have an inter-squad scrimmage. And then when it's time to play the game, half of your team go with the other team that you're playing against because they think that they have an issue. The race is between not the DSA and the Republicans. That's not the race that's coming up. The race is not between the Democrats. The race is between the Democrats and the Republicans. And the DSA is part of the Republicans. Even though we might, like you said, Reverend Ellis, disagree with some aspects of the DSA, but they Democrats. And the race is for I'm not going to switch to the Republicans because I got a disagreement with the DSA. That don't make no sense. And I should be able to defend my position as a Democrat to say that you're telling me to cut all these people loose because I just have a conversation with them, and you still got Stephen Miller in the office every day doing what he do, Hedseth in the office every day doing what they do. Come on, get some balls, Democrats. Stand up.
Yeah.
These people are to lock your hands down so you can't say nothing because you might have an extremist on your side, so now you got to spend the whole time defending yourself against the extremists. And I'll end with this, Rev. My man, the guy that won, or a reporter asked him this standard question: do you think Israel has a right to exist? That's supposed to shut you down. But he responded. He said, "Man, you know what? Nobody never asked me the question whether the Palestinians have a right to exist." I said, "Oh." He said, "I never heard that question. I never heard nobody ask that question off the bat. Do the Palestinians have a right to exist?" Come on, Democrats, get some balls and stand up. I mean, people would put you in a corner, and they got all that dirt that they're doing, and you instead of you attacking the dirt, you start attacking each other. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Thanks a lot, Red, for listening.
All right, thank you as always for your call. I think, Antoine, that we need to really deal with what is the priorities that we need to be talking about rather than eating up airtime, chasing rabbits, we used to say.
Rev, you get an amen and a hallelujah from me because you know what? It's a binary choice in November. The voters, as my dear friend Haley Stevens has said, the voters in Michigan have spoken, and so it's time for everyone to get on board with what they've had to say. If Haley Stevens would have won, we would have been saying the same thing. And so this binary choice in November is not Democrats versus others, it's Democrats versus Republicans. And to my dear friend Jihad, who I love and respect so much, I agree 100% with everything he said. My only alteration to the conversation is, unfortunately, our homework is not graded the same as Republicans. We don't get graded the same, so things they can get away with, whether it's right or wrong, we cannot get away with. How Donald Trump behaves, how Hegseth behaves, how Speaker Mike Johnson behaves, nobody on my side of the aisle would be able to get away with that. And so we can't operate under the assumption that it will be or will get the same level of grace. Unfortunately for us, like most of us in Black America, the journey is twice as hard, half as much. So we have to operate in that manner. Anything less than that would be less than politically uncivilized.
Absolutely. The main issues that are being framed during these midterm elections, of the main issues, what do you as a political strategist say to your clients, the people that you are with or supporting, that they are to focus on these three main issues that Americans are concerned about?
Well, the first thing I tell them is don't get high off your own supply, Rep. Stop believing your own hype and stop believing because you may have had success talking about something does not mean that something is going to get you across the finish line in November. The second thing I tell them, I say just follow the data, follow your nose, follow your people. There's nobody in this country who would disagree that Americans are paying more for their premiums, co-pays, and deductibles because of the lack of action by this president and this Congress. There's nobody in America who would disagree that this president and this Congress campaign on draining the swamp, yet the alligators have gotten fatter, and so corruption needs to be cleaned up and there needs to be accountability. There's not a person in this country who does not agree that we should not be rolling back Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefits. And lastly, there's not a person in this country who does not disagree with the fact that America is too expensive. Housing, child care, senior care, health care, gas, groceries, goods, services, all those things are more expensive now than they was when Donald Trump took office, and the Republicans have not done a damn thing about it. And so if you just look at those three or four things, talk about them however you want, but if you focus your attention on that, there's nothing else to talk about because that zaps up all the oxygen that everyday Americans are thinking and feeling. On your program a few weeks ago, Rev, I call it feelonomics. Economics you and I can feel. Not micro, not macro, but feelonomics. And that's where we have to focus.
And I think that, sometimes you can focus people on the wrong things and it doesn't accrue to your winning if you're running for office, and it doesn't accrue to the people's interest. Winning an argument, I understand that Piker has said some outrageous stuff, But winning an argument with Piker doesn't gain anybody anything but Piker. He gets more attention. To stand up and deal with the issues you raise is to benefit the people we're talking about. I can get on here and do a whole hour on Piker and all of them, Tucker Carlson, who I know all of them. And then what benefit it is other than I'm driving up their numbers. That's what they want. Because then they'll be right on their outlets, on their podcasts and on their radio shows or cable show. Let me tell you what Al Sharpton said about me and da-da-da-da. That's all they want. And I think that it is the height of intelligence to not bite debate. That's what they want you to do. And I mean, I'll shake hands and talk to a lot of people I don't agree with. And I'm not going to have anybody assign me to denounce them. I'm going to say what I believe. They say what they believe. And unless they are a factor that's going to matter in everybody's life, I ain't going to waste a lot of bullets on it. I'll say, yeah, I don't agree with them. I think they're wrong. And I move on. I'm not going to preach my whole sermon at a church or my whole Saturday morning message on somebody that a lot of what they were doing, they just want attention anyway. All right, let's get, we should go to a break first before we take the next call. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimball, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kim has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, and along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimball, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses, we give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes.
Is a house of justice.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. but we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announcing today, I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, the Reverend Al Sharpton. Our co-host is Antoine Seawright. Let's go to Kenny in Florida. Antoine, Kenny.
Reverend Al.
Yeah.
Reverend Al, Antoine, good evening. Pleasure to be on with you all. Antoine said something earlier. We have to look at the general election, and I think one of the things that we sometimes don't understand is that this is a numbers game. So instead of trying to outnumber the Republicans, we need to have a long game that outnumber the Republicans. When I say that, what I'm saying is Americans who are not Republicans outnumber the Republicans. So we don't want to make it just a black issue. We want to make it an American issue, because the gas prices ain't just risen on black folks. It's risen on Americans from all aspects of life. And I think if we can get those independents, like Antoine was saying, to understand our issues, then we have the numbers to go from there. My other issue is in the community. I have two children that graduated from Florida A&M. And one of them ran for SGA president. And one of the things that she said to me, and I had to love this child for this, she said, Daddy, as freshman senator, sophomore senator, and Senate president, I wanted to run for SGA because I wanted to motivate my classmates to get out and vote. She said only 16% is voting. So if only 16% is voting for their own leadership in college, how many of those are actually voting in the elections in subsequent life?
Wow.
We were upset about Charlie Kirk and his plan, but we need to emulate the Charlie Kirk plan at the HBCUs to get our kids out and get them involved, because all of us are hurting without the lack of their support.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that your daughter's strategy is the right strategy, that you've got to go out there and motivate people and get them focused on the right thing. If you go at the wrong argument, you win the wrong fight. You win an argument, but you haven't won anything. So you can tear up the Democratic Party, if that's the party of your choice, and say y'all got to attack this podcast or that one, and everybody get to fighting about that, and Rogers wins. You ought to be dealing with him, not somebody with a podcast that's trying to get more people to listen.
Reverend Al, about this Piker issue, if we get focused on that, and you're absolutely correct, then we're distracted.
That's right.
So I laugh about things that I've grown to mature in. You and I have met several times. So I'm one of your Kappa D9 brothers, and I know you're a good Sigma man.
Right.
I've hung out with
right.
Pastor Holmes and Don Tolliver and some of the others. But here's what I look back and laugh at. I used to cry when the Lakers lost to the Celtics. Wilt Chamberlain was my guy, and then all of a sudden I pledged Kappa almost 50 years ago and realized, damn, Bill Russell's my frat brother too.
Right.
And then when you understood that these guys did Thanksgiving dinners together and what have you, or when you understood that Jesse Jackson and Farrakhan did certain projects together,
Right.
you get out of what this force-fed stuff that people tell you who you can and cannot associate with. And you start understanding who is truly on your side.
That's right.
And that is what we have to get outside of. We've always been divided from slavery. We had the bright-skinned Negroes and the dark-skinned Negroes.
That's right.
We're used to them giving us reasons to be divided. We need to find reasons to come together, especially now in this election, more than anything. Last point, you said you and Trump were from the same city. Well, me and DeSecca has graduated from the same high school.
Wow.
I'm 20 years older than him. But he graduated from the same high school. And the brothers that went to school with me, we had track, we had football, we had basketball, we had the girls. He played baseball. He was a jock.
Right.
So he didn't come from a racist situation. It's not he didn't come from around black folks. He did.
Wow. That's good information. Thank you.
That ain't being told.
No, Kenny, thank you for your call. You know, Antoine, that's the real deal. I could sit up here and attack whatever his name is, Piker, for an hour to 3 hours I'm on every day. But I'd rather spend my time talking about why a black guy named Byron Daniels should not be the governor of Florida, even though he's black, because that will lead to some results. The only thing I get out of attacking Piker is Piker would have more people on his podcast.
Well, again, Red, style versus substance. I think that's where we're at in these political debates. What you mentioned, Piker, that's a style conversation. Substance is why these people are ripping away our health care, why everything is more affordable, and why people are dying because of their lack of action on the major issues, and why we've had the worst economy in the past 4 or 5 years. That's what we need to be talking about. And I appreciate the good brother, sounds like, of the greatest fraternity in the history of the world, Kappa Alpha Psi, for calling in to confirm basically what we've been saying for some time on this program. We've got to deal with the things that are facing America now. Our coalition does not look like the Republican coalition. It's going to be a multi-generational, multicultural, multi-philosophical coalition that's going to win, and no election is like any other election. So what happened with Obama, what happened with Biden, what happened in the midterms in 2004, 2006, 2010, none of that matters, because today is a different environment, a different time period, different candidate, different things we have to wrestle with. But guess what? The same strategy is going to win. We've got to beat them by having more people vote for us and our cause.
That is the only way you're going to win. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go to Bernita in Ohio. Bernita.
Hello, Rev. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, and hello to your guest. It's been a long time, Rev, since I've been able to call in, probably over a year, because I DoorDash, and so I'm usually driving and collecting orders.
Oh,
but
okay.
Today, I put my DoorDashing on hold because this morning, and I watch Morning Joe every morning, and I looked for you to be on there, but you wasn't.
No,
but I want to.
I'll be on tomorrow morning.
Joe, I wanted to talk about Joe Scarborough and the one guy that came on, that used to be a sports guy, and now they got him on there all the time. Pushed back when Joe wanted the Dr. Syed to denounce that Piker guy. I never heard of him. I have never heard of him, and if I ask my friends, they won't know who he is either. Why are we denouncing somebody that the majority of us do not know?
Wow.
And why does he have to denounce Piker? Nobody should be raped, Reverend Al. We all get that. Not the women in Gaza, not the women in Palestine, not even the women in America. So we have a tendency to want to pluck the beam out of other countries' eyes, and we got a moat in our own.
Wow.
He's hollering. I mean, he was going off about the women being raped, yet They put a man as a permanent attorney general who will not help fight for these women that was raped by Trump and all the rest. We talk 250 years they celebrated. Okay, fine. But when we trace our history, it wasn't no glorious history back through these 250 years. They got mad, Joe did, because the guy in that guy that called you talking about with the burning of the planes that hit, he said it, others have said it, but Rev, they'd be surprised of how many people think that, yeah, the United States got what they deserve. Just because people don't speak it don't mean they don't think it.
That's true.
As for the Democrats, we need to, Hassim, stand up and tell them we are a big tent, and we welcome everybody into our big tent. But this is our policy, and this is what we're fighting for. All that other stuff is just background noise. That woman from the DSA, she made a fool out of herself when she couldn't tell them, well, how are you going to tax the rich? And what does that mean, to tax the hell out of them? You got to have answers. So when people can't respond in the way you need them to, cut them off and keep it moving. We are a big tent. And to your guest, I say, people pick these other people, and I agree, because we're tired of the Democrats playing mealy mouth like they scared of their own shadow. I'd have been told Trump, step to the plate, and would have laid it out and told him, your mama's that's your mama. We'd have played the dozens, Rep. You know, back in, we'd have played the dozens. Not just him, but the others. Stand up, Democrats, and fight. And thank you, Rep, and thank you to your guests for taking my call.
Glad to hear your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to...
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation. You must be disciplined and do study, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set of way. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is. I'm surprised to see you here.
Kathy Birds. Yeah, Kathy Birds.
How are you?
And my lovely wife, Lisa.
How you doing, sir? All right.
It's Claudette Williamson from Atlanta, Georgia. And the last time I saw Reverend Sharpton was in New York City at Sylvia's. And my sister and I pretended that we needed to go to the bathroom so we could go in and see him and say hi from a distance. I'm okay. You look great. My name is Claudette. New York City was Sylvia's.
Oh.
My sister told our house, can I get a picture? So we can see. Wave at you. And today I Lisa? Yes. Oh, the picture. We're her children. Thank you all.
Reverend, it's really great to meet you. And were you in? It's an honor to meet you. Okay, come take a second. Thank you.
Meet you back here right quick while you momentum. One more, please. You live, sir.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. You will not regret it. And I keep getting all kinds of responses as I move around the country. And I'm going to keep on keeping the momentum of the show. August 29th, the day after the March on Washington, will be the 15th anniversary of Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live on MSNBC. It started now, MS Now. and the company transition. And one of the senior producers at MS Now came and told me, he said, let me tell you what I looked up. I said, what's that? He says, you are the longest surviving black host of a cable TV show in the history of cable. I said, that can't be true. Then I started, he gave me the list. And some of them that did well did 6, 7, 8 years. That was it. So because of you, the audience, we doing 15 years and counting. Also, Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice. We had a great rally Saturday. I'm looking for you this Saturday. I will be there at the House of Justice, 124th Street in Morningside. Really, it is 6 Hancock Place, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you're not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, on nationalactionnetwork.net, on YouTube/NAN or /NAN, or on the AME Zion channel network. All roads lead to Washington, August 28th. They have taken out the heart of the voting rights bill. We need to stand up on voting rights, on the DEI, where it has cut many contracts and jobs, and we need to stand up on the whole issue of what we are going to do about the concerns we have in our community. I think more than concerns, but definitely concerns about where we're doing criminal justice system. This is the first time in history that we cannot look to the federal government when we have a problem with the local government doing a fair investigation, as in the case of Mississippi. All of that, we need to really stand up and be done with the paralysis of analysis. And let's put some leather in the street. The strategic plan is to really show the force. So the Supreme Court, whether they justices are in their bill or not, that they will be there. Their secretaries will call them. The Congress people, the senators, all need to have their employees say, man, there was a huge number here today. We better look at these issues differently. And then turn that. One of the things we're going to do is outline at the march your assignment. We're going to have people sign up to be part of what we call the voter brigades. We need you at the polls in Georgia, in Florida, in Mississippi, in Tennessee. So, and we're going to provide cameras so that people, if ICE shows up, start filming. People that have the right, we have got to protect this vote. And so Washington is a call to arms, and then we get the assignments. And for you that have not signed up for the march, go to nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number right now at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. And I see Joseph Simmons on the message board said, Reverend Al, we love you, my Libra brother. Please run for president in 2028. God got you. No, I'm going to have a lot to say about the presidency, but I'm not going to run, Joseph. I'm not even going down that way. Let's go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your global listeners, and the Brother C. Wright. And I tell you, Reverend, now he's sure enough seeing right every time I hear him talk. I know you proud of him, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I keep hearing people what the Democrats should do. All the Democrats got to do is keep telling the truth and keep their eye on the prize, which is the House and the Senate, right? And keep it moving, because again, it hurts me to see there's black and white Americans that's in this Trump cult, and that's exactly what it is. Because in a cult, the leader can't do no wrong. I don't care what he do.
Right.
And they, and something you read on the message board where the guy was saying that Donald Trump is not a racist, right? Now, I mean, come on, man. And sound like he, it could have been a black guy, because we got here in Philadelphia black people that call and lift Donald Trump up. How, I don't know, But my thing is, how can you see yourself as superior when you so numb and dumb about just common sense stuff, right? Now, you take, they talking about woke, on that thing, he was talking about woke being bad. Now, the opposite of woke is sleep.
Right.
So you mean to tell me you listening to somebody that tell you, I need you to stay asleep, when all of the scriptures, the main Bible, Quran, tell you to wake up from your grave of ignorance, it even speaks about, right? And you sitting here letting somebody tell you that it's better for you to stay asleep. What are we going to do, Reverend Al, other than, we got to put everything we got against this and pray for these people, because I don't want, white or black, I don't want for Americans to be that dumb. What you say about it, Rev?
I'd say exactly right. I think that one of the signs of maturity, politically and in other areas of life, is to don't be distracted where you major in minors and minor in majors. We are in a critical time. Affordability has become something that we cannot endure in the average family. We need to get past this foolishness that they want to play us into. Antoine, I remember when Trump had folks arguing about whether Barack Obama was born here or not, and said he was going to have his birth certificate displayed. And he strung people along for a long time and never came up with the birth certificate. Obama just ignored him and just kept doing what he's doing and won for president. That's what you have to do. Obama didn't get out in the alley behind Trump Towers and say, bring me, where's the birth certificate? That's what he wanted. And we have got to be mature enough to pick our fights, but pick the fights that are victories for us, not just helping the other person get attention.
Thank you,
Rev. I think you're right. Rev, I think you're spot on. A lion never turns around when a dog barks, because the lion knows his place in the jungle. And I think we've got to prepare and govern ourselves as if we were lions, because distractions can come in many forms. It can come in forms of tweets, Instagram posts. It can come in the form of rhetoric from supporters of Donald Trump. It can come in the form of podcast hosts, radio hosts, and others. But we've got to stay focused on the mission. And the mission is to win in November, because this is a life or death survival elections for Sharpton and Seawright's community.
All right. And, Brother Jacob, a lion never turns around when a dog barks. Oh, that's right. Seawright said that. You know how Baptist preachers steal everything. You know you're going to hear that again. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank everybody that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.